here's what we're going to do. We're going to start with a very quick and easy way to put yourself in trance. Okay. Now, there's two ways we can go about this. You can pretend to go into trance, or you can remember a time in your life when you were in the deepest, juiciest trance state possible. Okay. Now, if you've meditated, this should be easy. If you've ever daydreamed and suddenly realized you were daydreaming, that'll work too, because we're going to do this in two ways. We're going to actually sandwich two very powerful techniques together. They're very simple. And then we're going to link it to a trigger, and we're going to practice that a few times. Right? We're not going to do the unconscious timing process, but we are going to access a state. We're going to link it to a trigger that is unique. In other words, we don't want to anchor, like in NLP anchoring, for example. A lot of times people will anchor something on the arm, or they'll anchor something on the shoulder or on the ear. You want to create a trigger that is not something that's going to be triggered like all the time, accidentally moving through the world. Right? Like if you anchor something to the palm of your hand, and every time you shake somebody's hand, you get an orgasm or something. That's probably not going to be the most useful. It'll be distracting and fun as hell, but it probably won't be the most useful for your professional life, right? Unless your profession happens to be orgasms on command, which you could make good money at, by the way. I should probably mention that, right? Also, let me go ahead and give you my my disclaimer that I should have given at the beginning of the event. If politically incorrect language, colorful metaphors, swearing, or the word boobies offends you, probably not the best use of your time. As you can see, I went with the pirate background. It kind of fits my my mode of dress today. My buddy Arik the Red, International Man of Mystery, is right behind me. As you can see, he's like, "What the fuck, dude?" Right? All right. So here's what we're gonna do. I want you to kind of, and by the way, if you're driving, because I know a bunch of you are, shut the fucking thing off. Okay? Because if I start going all into hypno mode, I can't guarantee your safety. All right? If you are listening to this while driving, you are doing this so at your own risk. You should not be participating in this segment, or any segment for that matter, that requires your full, that takes your attention off of what you're doing. So again, so let's go ahead and close our eyes, take a deep breath in. Let that breath out with a sigh. Deeper and deeper with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. All I want you to do is relax. Let go. Listen to the sound of my voice. Any sounds that you hear other than the sounds of my voice are simply the sounds of our natural environment. They're not going to disturb you. They're not going to distract you in any way. In fact, all they're going to do is signal you, remind you, reinforce inside your mind and body and soul the fact that you're completely safe, that no matter how far inside you travel, no matter how deep inside your mind and body and soul you go, you will always, always, always be able to hear my words, follow my instructions, and obey my commands, because you realize that everything I say and everything I do is for you, to give you the life and the lifestyle that you want, the way that you want it, by your standards and your definitions. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to focus all of your attention on the lids of your eyes. I'm going to ask you to begin to relax those tiny muscles in your eyelids. And I want you to just keep relaxing them. Relax them more and more and more until they're so relaxed that they just don't want to work anymore. And when you're satisfied, you're convinced they're so relaxed they just don't want to work anymore, all I want you to do is give them a quick test just to be sure. And we'll continue with the next part of our process. When you're satisfied, stop testing. Float that level of relaxation from the top of your head all the way down. Down, down, down to the tips of your toes. Deeper and deeper with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. Just keep letting go. You're doing fantastic. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to begin to relax your mind just as deeply as we've been relaxing your body. We're going to do that in a very special way. In a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to begin to imagine the alphabet backwards, starting with the letter Z. With each and every breath you take and each and every beat of your heart, starting with the letter Z, all I want you to do is relax those letters completely out of your mind. Allow them, if you will, to become smaller, darker, harder to see. Turn the volume all the way down, 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 deeper and deeper, down, down, down. Perfect. Now, obviously, I can't do this for you. Only you can allow this to happen. And when you know they're gone, and you're as deeply relaxed in your mind as you are in your body, all I want you to do is allow your head to nod with honest, unconscious movements to let me know. And we'll continue with the next part of our process, drifting, dreaming, floating. Smaller, darker, harder to see. Fantastic. Now you can keep relaxing those letters until they're completely gone, even beyond this moment, if that's what's necessary. You take all the time for your unconscious now to do what it needs to do to go into the deepest trance humanly possible today. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, we're going to do two more processes back to back to allow you a very powerful, very transformational state that we're going to give you access to on demand. So the first one I want you to understand is I want you to fly back on the wings of time, or if necessary, use that powerful imagination. And I'm wondering if you might be able to imagine a time in your life when you felt absolutely safe, absolutely protected. And even if you've never had that, use your imagination, play for a moment. What might a place like that be like? What might a place that's so protective, so nurturing, so nourishing, so safe, so protective, so forgiving in every conceivable way, that no negativity of any kind could exist there for even a fraction of a second? I'm curious, could you imagine what a place like that might be like? Go ahead and nod your head if you can. Perfect. And when you do that, I'm curious, when you're in that place, when you see what you see and you hear what you hear and you smell and you taste what you smell and you taste, there is an amazing, wonderful feeling that you get, a feeling that lets you know you're truly safe. There's a place in your body where those wonderful feelings start, where they grow, where they spread from. Take a moment, point to where you feel that. That's right. And I'd like you to notice that there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. I'm curious, I'm wondering what color or colors those might be for you, first impression. And whatever they are, I want you to imagine a beautiful ball of that energy floating above your head. I'd like you to notice how the feelings in your body shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart, that amazing ball of energy begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket of safety. A cocoon, a shield, a suit of armor, insulating you, protecting you from all threats, all negativity, real or imagined, while at the same time flooding your mind, flooding your body, flooding your spirit with everything it most wants, everything it most needs in an infinite, ever-expanding and unlimited supply. And when you know you've got that, I want you to breathe those amazing colors through your entire being. Let it fill you up like water fills up a bottle, like fluid fills up a test tube, like hot air or helium fills up a balloon. Anchor it in so fully, so completely, no force in the universe can turn it off or take it away. Not even you. And when you realize it's true, test it. Try to turn it off, try to take it away, and notice what happens instead. Most people notice that it just stays and gets stronger, or it doesn't go away, or they just don't want it to go away, and that's fine. From this moment forward, anytime you close your eyes and take a deep breath in with the intention of going into a very powerful, very deep, deep, deep hypnotic state, all you have to do is put your feet flat on the floor, Make sure you won't be interrupted. Close your eyes. Imagine a beautiful ball of that safe energy floating above your head. Fill the entire room with it. Wrap it around you like an amazing blanket of protection and safety and privacy. Breathe it through your entire being. And each and every time you do this, you will go into trance twice as deep as the time before. Deeper and deeper with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. It will simply get more and more and more powerful for you every moment of every day. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to scan your body one more time. Each and every time you scan your body, all I want you to do is scan your body for any place where you're holding on to any form of tightness, density, or tension. These are places where we accumulate stuff that our little body and the systems in our body have sequestered away until such a time as, equipped with the right technology, guided by the right expertise and the right intention, you can go back inside and tell your neurology what to do with them instead. When you find those places, breathe that amazing safe energy through each and every one of them. Notice how those areas begin to melt and dissolve away. Let it flow in an infinite, ever expanding and unlimited supply over and around and through those areas like hot water flowing over an ice cube. Notice how those areas begin to melt and dissolve away, flowing out of your mind, out of your body, out of your spirit, impossible to come back ever again. And in their place, everything you most need and want and desire instead flows into those spaces. Deeper and deeper with every breath you take and every beat of your heart. And when you know all those spots are completely gone, just nod your head to let me know, and we'll continue with the next part of our process. Perfect. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to do something very, very interesting. I'm going to ask you to fly back on the wings of time to a time when you learned something really, really well and really, really fast. And I don't care if it was something as simple as learning, well, simple but not easy, as learning to walk, whether it was some aspect of school or academia that you just had a knack for. Maybe you were a math whiz or an English whiz, or writing short stories or creativity just came to you like a duck takes to water. I want you to fly back on the wings of time to that moment right before you realized you were learning. Right before. And I want you to notice something, that there's a place in your body where those feelings started, where they grow and where they spread from. I want you to go ahead, take a moment, go with your first impressions, point to where you feel that. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do something very interesting. I want you to notice as you focus on that time when you learned something really, really well, and that feeling came up, that the feeling started in that location and then it went somewhere else. And I want you to follow that feeling to the next place in your body. And when you follow it to that next place, and then it moved somewhere else, and then it moved somewhere else, and then somewhere else. And I want you to just follow that feeling as it moves from its point of origin and begins to trace its path of deep level rapid learning through your entire being until it comes back to its point of origin. And then what I want you to do, like a canoe on a river, I want you to just follow that flow deeper and deeper and deeper into that stream. Each repetition, each cycle through your body, doubling and tripling and amplifying that state, bringing it back even stronger than it was that first time. Take all the time you need to do as many circuits through that little stream of transformation as you need to. And when you know you've got that, I want you to go ahead and just nod your head to let me know. We'll continue with the next part of our process. Fantastic. Now I'd like you to know that notice that there's a color, maybe even a series of colors connected to those amazing feelings. I'm curious what color or colors those might be for you. And whatever they are, I want you to add those colors to that amazing ball of safe energy floating above your head. And once again, just like before, notice how those feelings in your body begin to shift and change as with every breath you take and every beat of your heart, that ball of energy begins to grow, begins to expand, begins to fill the entire room from floor to ceiling, from wall to wall, and all points in between. Notice how it wraps itself around you like an amazing blanket. Transformation and speed learning. In this state, any information that you're exposed to through your five senses, any revelations that generated from inside of you will become indelibly burned at the deepest, most powerful, most irresistible level of your mind and body and soul. Wrap that energy around you. And when you've got that, breathe it through your entire being and feel your entire system, mind, body, and soul coming alive with data acquisition, processing, and expression abilities, doubling and tripling in size and strength, doubling and tripling in force and magnitude over and over and over again. Anytime you close your eyes with the intention of going into trance, with this process, blending that safety, blending that powerful learning, and breathing it through your entire being, you will go into this hyper learning state 10 times faster than the time before. It'll be 10 times deeper, 10 times more effective. Your neurology will begin to shed. It will begin to shed its old programs. It'll begin to take on these new abilities, these new skills. Your neurology, mind, body, and soul will evolve at an accelerated hyper speed rate. The suggestions you give yourself visually, mentally, verbally, auditorily, kinesthetically, will simply go into the deepest level of your mind. They'll be accepted and acted upon and expressed in the most organic and effective way for you. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, we're going to do something interesting. In a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, we're going to begin to test this phenomenon. In a moment, I'm going to count up from 1 to 3. As I reach the number 3, you will emerge almost fully and completely out of this state. Your eyes will open. You'll be able to see and hear. And when I give you the signal, you're simply going to close your eyes, breathe that energy through your body, and go 10 times deeper into this amazing state of accelerated suggestibility and learning. 1, feel yourself returning to the room, back to the seat. Number 2, almost here, almost completely out of trance. All of my suggestions from me to you, from you to your own other than conscious mind, are now 10 times more powerful, 100 times more permanent, 1,000 times more thrilling, fulfilling, and satisfying than ever before. 2, almost back to the room. And 3, eyes open, noticing how different you feel, noticing how different the world may seem from this place. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, when you're ready, I'm going to count from 3 to 1. When I reach the number 1, you're going to imagine that big ball of energy floating above your head. You're going to take a deep breath and close your eyes. Breathe those energies through your entire being. Go back into this state 10 times deeper or even more than the time before. 3, 2, 1. All the way down, deeper and deeper and deeper still, drifting, dreaming. Feeling your mind becoming like an amazing vacuum cleaner for information, a voracious desire to learn, accept, amplify, and express any suggestions or directions that you're given. The ability to learn and acquire information, magnifying, amplifying, becoming irresistible in every way. You become the learning machine you were when you were first brought into this world, able to suck in massive amounts of information, process it, and express it in a powerful, playful, curious, relentless, triumphant way. Take all the time you need to go even deeper now and deeper. When you know you've got that, you know it's locked in, you can just allow your head to nod with honest, unconscious movements to let me know, and we'll continue with the next part of our process. Excellent. Guys are doing great. In a moment, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. When I reach the number 3, you will emerge from this process, bringing all of this ability into full power with you each and every time. You imagine that cloud of safe, accelerated learning power. You're going to fall deeper into trance than the time before. Your neurology is going to evolve at an accelerated rate. You're going to assimilate and express information in a way that makes everybody around you super jealous. And you feel really, really good about yourself. 1, 2, on the next count, eyes open, and 3, eyes open, noticing how good you feel. Perfect. In a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I'm going to count from 3 to 1 again. You're going to imagine that amazing ball of energy. You're going to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, expand that energy to fill the room, wrap it around you, breathe it through your body. You're going to go in even deeper now, 10 times stronger than the time before. Each and every time you do this, your ability to feel safe and powerful and irresistible and accelerated at learning, instant learning if need be, will simply double, triple, quadruple at a way that's awesome and makes you feel good about who you are and the life you lead. That is my gift to you for being on this particular AMA, for asking the right questions and being willing to do the drills to get the skills. 3, feel that energy building up inside you. Close those eyes, breathe in, expand that energy to fill the room, wrap it around you. 2, all the way down, and 3, all the way down to the very basement of deep, deep, deep trance today. A trance of learning, a trance of safety, a trance that allows you to do anything you want inside of this space, to create the changes either through your words, through your actions, through your internal pictures and smells and tastes, or any combination thereof. Any information that you receive through the 5 senses will be processed at an accelerated rate with enhanced comprehension, with a deeper level of intuitive and not so intuitive understanding. You'll find yourself able to do math better, or able to do words better. Whatever it is you want to do better, your unconscious mind will make all the necessary changes so that that part of your neurology, that part of your mind, body, and soul activates, amplifies, and accelerates your comprehension and ability to implement that information in the easiest, most efficient, fastest, and effective way possible. That's the process. This is the foundation. It only gets stronger from this moment forward. For as long as your heart continues to beat, for as long as your lungs continue to breathe, you are an unstoppable learner. You are an engine of transformation, information, and revelation, able to move through the world, creating the changes you want in yourself and others the way that you want them, by your standards and your definitions. Now, in a moment, not yet, but in just a moment, I want you in your mind to decide if there's any other way you want to be able to trigger this state. Will it be a keyword? Will it be a gesture that you make? Or is the color and the breathing simply good enough? Whatever it is, I want you in your mind's eye. I call this your Steven Spielberg moment. I want you to create an alternate reality movie where you see yourself out in the world, out in the situations where you really want to use this skill, this ability. I want you to make those movies of yourself going into that learning state, accelerating, taking in that information, processing it, and applying it and understanding it instantly or even sooner. When you have that movie, make it big as a drive-in movie theater screen, crystal clear like an IMAX. Turn up the sounds, the smells, the tastes, the feelings. Best process ever. When you got it, watch it over and over again. Not once, not twice, but hundreds and thousands of times at the speed of thought. With each repetition, I want you to make it 10 times stronger, 100 times more powerful, 1,000 times more thrilling, fulfilling, and satisfying than ever before. Embraced, held, locked into that part of your mind, body, and soul that most wants, desires, can implement, facilitate, and express these changes in all ways that give you the life that you want, the way that you want it, by your standards and your definitions. Head clear, mind clear, heart clear, soul clear, thinking, feeling, acting with self-assurance, feeling good all over, glad to be alive. On the next count, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. As I reach the number 3, you'll emerge from this process head clear, mind clear, amplified and learning, accelerating and implementing at an increased rate for as long as your heart continues to beat and your lungs continue to breathe. Any suggestion that you give yourself unconsciously or directly, your unconscious mind will grab onto it, will magnetize to it, will fertilize and implement that suggestion and grow it into the fruits of your desire in the shortest amount of time possible, in the way that allows you to get the life you want the way that you want it, simply by following the process consistently. Number 1, feel yourself returning to this place we call reality, bringing with you the freight train to manifestation, the freight train to learning, a way to give yourself powerful, positive suggestions on your own, or if you choose to allow it to be guided by somebody like me or someone else whom you trust deeply. Number two, all of my suggestions, all of your suggestions from me to you, from you to your own other than conscious mind, are now 10 times more powerful, 100 times more permanent, 1,000 times more thrilling, fulfilling, and satisfying than ever before. Embraced, held, locked into that part of your mind, body, and soul that most wants, desires, can implement, facilitate, and express these changes in all the ways that give you the life that you want, the way that you want it, by your standards and your definitions. Head clear, mind clear, soul clear, thinking, feeling, acting with self-assurance, feeling good all over, glad to be alive and ready to thrive. Number 5, take your time, come on back. Notice how good you feel. You can take a moment if you want to go ahead and, when you're back, go ahead and type in the chat how that was for you. Feedback is the breakfast of champions, after all. Thank you, Tommy. Brilliant, literally. Susan says, lovely. Got a lot of bunny chats in here. All right. So Milan says, wow, perfect. Powerful. Excellent. Whenever we do any kind of self-work, we always want to start by resourcing, deepening, and compounding. Okay. The thing about this particular process is that when you do it yourself, it will have a slightly different feel because you're not being externally guided. So one of the things that has to happen when you're doing self-work is you got to know what you want. You got to know what you want. Okay. You've got to, in fact, the vast majority of trance work, or the vast majority of suggestive work that you want to do, should actually be done before you go into trance. It's kind of like when we talk about image cycling, okay, we have this big list that we have people prepare, right? Well, the vast majority of subconscious, Paul says, was great. I visually felt my own trigger in my body. Excellent. Perfect. Use this every single day. Okay. For Genevieve, who has a friend who is, having trouble sleeping, you could use a very similar process. You modified 4 magic bullets to a safe place, to have her bring up a time in her life when she had the best sleep ever, or she had the most amazing power nap of her life. Because the moment she brings it up and she remembers it, you have her point to where she feels it, you trace it through the body. Now, a lot of people at the last class were asking about an NLP technique called Drug of Choice. That moment where you point to where you feel it and you trace the path through the body is the NLP Drug of Choice protocol. All we do with it is we trace it through the body till it comes back to its point of origin. We turn it into a color, we fill the room with it, we breathe it through. That's my piece to it. But the original NLP NLP technique was just tracing it through the body. And by the time you get back to the point of origin, you're back in the state. We start there and then we just keep amplifying. So for those of you who are interested in that, in the NLP Drug of Choice technique, it's in this process. Okay. We just sandwiched it into a bunch of other stuff that amplifies and magnifies the effect. So whatever resource you want to put in there, like for you guys, because you came here to learn self-work, you learned here to program yourself better. We started with safety and trance, but then we added in the ability to assimilate, process, and express information at an accelerated rate. So now when you go to do your self-work and things of that nature, you're already primed to take it in faster. Okay. When going back to the mechanics of it, take a moment to think out what suggestions you want to give yourself. Now, let me go to, I'm going to share my screen really quick. I don't know if this is going to help or hinder understanding of things or not, but we'll see. You know, when we start talking about suggestions, you have certain ways you can do this. You can do it verbally / linguistically. You can do it non-verbally. And somatically. And that means, in my world, it means actually acting out the change. Okay. So when we talk about verbal suggestion, if we were doing the unconscious timing exercise that I learned from Jerry Kahn, I mentioned at the beginning of this video, the first thing we would be doing is compounding the trance state.